welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Today I'll be taking you biology, and we are looking at one of the straightforward topics in biology. Topics that has to do with our relationship with our environment. Please come along with me.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
Our topic today is basic ecological concept. Once again, basic ecological concept. And today, this will be our learning objective. At the end of this lesson, learners will be able to state the definition of ecology, differentiate between the types of ecology, and explain or give definition of some basic terms that is used in ecology. So we are going to be looking at some terms. I start with definition of ecology. What is ecology? Ecology is the study of relationship between organism and its external environment. How do you relate with your environment? That is what we are going to look at today. In our environment, when we wake up in the morning, some of us will urinate on the road. We are relating with our environment. The rats in our houses relate with us by eating part of our food. And we, in return, want to kill the rat. That is relationship. So, relationship between organism and its environment. How do organisms survive in its environment? That is ecology. Where does the organism sleep in its environment? That is ecology. What group of organisms do we have? Are we the same? Are we different? That is ecology. When we study all these organisms together, we are studying ecology. Now we have two branches of ecology. We have horticology and we have syncology. The first one is horticology and the second one is syncology. Horticology is the study of individual organisms. When we are studying just, for example, a rat in its environment, just a rat, we are studying horticology. Or we are studying just one single species of rats, we are studying horticology. Then the next one is syncology, involved in interrelationship between group of organisms or different species. In a very simple term, when we are studying two or more species together, we are studying syncology. For example, you are studying cats and rats. Cats and rats. You study them in their environment. How do they interact in the environment? What do they eat? Where do they sleep? When we are studying these two organisms at the same time, we are studying syncology. Or we are studying lion and antelope in their natural environment. That is syncology. When we do this, this is syncology. This is an example of different group of organisms. We have an organism. When we have two or more organisms together, we have a population. When we have two or more population of organisms, we have a community. And the whole organism, together with their external environment, make up what we call the ecosystem. So an individual, 1, 2, 3, one person in a single environment. When it becomes 2, 3, it forms a population. When the population is more than 1, as we can see, we have a zebra, we have an antelope, we have some buffaloes, we have birds. These are population of organisms. And here we have the sun, we have the plant, and we have the bird taking water. This is the ecosystem that supports their livelihood. Now we are going to look at some of the concepts. The first one we are starting with is environment. Environment. Environment is the sum total of all external and internal factors. Everything that surrounds an organism in its particular area or in its particular habitat is what it refers to as environment. Everything, the sun that shines on us, the rain that falls on us, the temperature that hits our body, the rat that resides in our houses, the mosquito that bites us, our friends around us. Everything that surrounds us, both living and not living, make up our environment. The next one is biosphere. Biosphere or ecosphere. Biosphere is that part of the earth where life are being found, or where life will be found, or where living organisms are living. We are part of this earth. The part of the earth that we find life is what we refer to as the biosphere. Biosphere is the part of the earth that life can be found. And the biosphere can be divided into the lithosphere, that is the solid part of the earth. That is the part we have our land. The solid part that is very hard. The other one is the hydrosphere, mainly water. Then the last one is atmosphere. Atmosphere is air. If you cast our mind back to some of these cartoons we watch, especially Avatar, that life is made up of 4 elements: water, fire, air, and land. These are parts of the biosphere. These are parts of the major part of the biosphere: land, water, and air. The fire is included in the air. Let's move on. The next one is habitat. Habitat simply is one of the simplest definitions in biology, apart from cell. Habitat is also a very simple terms to define. It simply means the home or the place where an organism lives, or the natural place where you can find an organism. If you are looking for a lion, where will you find a lion? That is the habitat. If somebody is looking for us too, they find us in our houses. Our different houses is our habitat. So habitat is the place or the home of an organism, or the natural dwelling place of an organism. Then our habitats can be divided into 2: the aquatic habitat and the terrestrial habitat. Aquatic habitat and terrestrial. Aquatic is water. We are surrounded mainly by water. And land. Land include our mountain, our tree. In the past, we used to have 3 divisions of habitat: aquatic habitat, terrestrial habitat, and arboreal. But a lot of people have argued that arboreal is top of 3. Because the top of 3 is found on land, it is included under terrestrial. So now we have aquatic and terrestrial. But for exam purpose, if you are asked to list types of habitats, sometimes they want specific under each of these habitats. If, for example, you have to mention the habitat of a cockroach, where will you find a cockroach? In the cupboard, in the toilet. These are the habitats of cockroach. All these are found on land. The next one is ecological niche. Ecological niche refers to the habitat and the entire behavior. How does the organism behave? What is your role in the habitat? What do you do? Are you a producer or are you a consumer? Or do you serve as food or do you serve as a predator? This is ecological niche. Ecological niche refers to the habitat and the entire habit. The habit has to do with behavioral. How do you behave? Are you a nocturnal animal? Do you come out in the night or do you come out during the day? Feeding. What do you feed on? Do you feed on other organisms or do they provide food for you to eat? Or do you produce your food yourself? Then breeding. How do you reproduce? What time of the day do you reproduce? All these are ecological niche. Or which part of the ecosystem can you be located? That is your role or position. Some organisms, they live permanently on the leaf, like the caterpillar or butterfly. Live permanently on the leaf. That is his niche. That is what he has covered for himself. Bats, you only see bats in the night. That is his niche. Night is a nocturnal animal. These are ecological niche. It has to do with behavior, feeding, and role, as well as position of an organism in its ecosystem. The next one is population. Population is the total number of organisms of the same species. That word is very important. same species or same kind that are living together in the same habitat or the same area at the same time. The organism will have to be the same population. The last time we did census in Nigeria, we only counted the number of human beings. We didn't count the rat in our houses. We didn't count the dogs in our houses because they are different species. They are not our species, so we are not counted. If you go into the forest, you want to count the number of animals. You count population of lion, population of tiger, population of birds. This is population. Same species that are living in the same area together and at the same time. The time is very, very important. Nigeria, we still refer to population census of 2010. So the same thing, if you go to the forest for population sampling, at that particular point, you are doing your sampling, the time must be noted. So date, January 2022. This is the population of animal in this social forest. This is population of plants in this social forest. That is because it's something that can change over time. If you go after a year or two, the population must have increased or must have decreased. So population. The next one is community. Community is group of different population living together in the same habitat. Community is group of different population living together in the same habitat. For example, in Lagos, for example, we have some localities that are basically for Hausa speaking part of Nigeria and some that are Igbo speaking parts. There are some that are Yoruba speaking parts. But when we find these two different groups in the same environment, that is a community. Each and every one of us make a community. When you find a lion, when you find an antelope, when you find a tiger, all of them in the same environment, we call it a community. Community is group of different population living in the same environment or in the same ecosystem. The next one is ecosystem or ecological system. Ecosystem refers to the basic functional unit or a system in nature which consists of living factor and non-living factor, and they are interacting together. What is important in ecosystem is the living and non-living are always interacting. The interaction is what makes it an ecosystem. An ecosystem is a unit that supports itself. The plant grows on its own. Animal feed on the plant. As it's feeding, a new plant is growing. The animal is reproducing because everything is supporting itself. As some animals are dying, they are reproducing a new set. That is ecosystem. A system that supports itself, or the system that is backed up by nutrient cycle. As some group of nutrients are being lost, it is being replaced back. When rain falls now, for example, when there is sun, the rain that fell is evaporated back into the atmosphere. When it is full in the atmosphere, it comes back to us as rain. That is nutrient cycling. It goes and comes. So this nutrient cycling are what back up the ecosystem. Then in ecosystem, we have two major components: the living component and the non-living component. The living component is referred to as biotic component, while the non-living is referred to as abiotic component. The abiotic are the non-living, the components that do not have life, but they have very important influence on our survival. For example, rainfall. If there is no rain, plants do not grow. If there is no sun, plants do not grow. It is very important for our survival. Or factors that are not living, that are important for our survival. Example, light, temperature, rainfall, water, soil. All these are abiotic components. They are non-living components. which every living organism will interact with for its own survival. The next one is biotic components. Biotic components are the living parts of the ecosystem. Animal, plants, microorganism, decomposer, parasites, predator, diseases, all these make up the biotic component. Each and every one has one influence or the other. A lion will always kill an antelope. Component. An antelope will always feed on grass. Living component. That is interaction. The disease affects us to produce new cell. That is part of the biotic component. So these are part of the biotic component. We have the producer that produce food in the environment. We have the consumers that feed on the producers. The producers are plants. The consumers are animal. And we have some plants that we can refer to as consumer, like insectivorous plants that feed on insects. Then we have decomposers, like bacteria, like our fungi, that help to break down the dead remains of living organisms. Then we have microorganisms, those organisms that we can't see with our ordinary eye, except with an aided instrument or a microscope or lenses. Then we have parasites, organisms that reside in our body, take fluid from our body for its own survival. Then disease, a condition that make the body unhealthy. Then the next one is biome. Biome is a large natural terrestrial ecosystem or large continuous area of vegetation. A biome is basically vegetation. Plants, different kind of plants, different kind of trees, different kind of grasses make up the biome. Then we have different kind of biomes. We have the mangrove swamp, tropical mangrove swamp. We have the tropical rainforest. We have the savanna. In Nigeria, our savanna is broken down into northern and southern Guinea savanna. We have the Sudan savanna and as well as the Sahel savanna. This is a replica of what make up the biome. We have the rainforest, we have the temperate forest, we have the taigas, we have the deserts, we have the grassland or savanna. The grassland and savanna are basically the same, but the terms are used interchangeably. We have the tundra, where it is snow. Then we have the fresh water, and we also have the marine, and as well as the lagoon. All this make up our biomes. Then we look at some practice questions to refresh our memory on what has been taught so far. Give you a few minutes to go through this practice question, then I'll come back for the solutions. Welcome back. I hope you are able to jot some things down. Our first question is, what is ecology? What is ecology? Simply, ecology is defined as the relationship between an organism and its environment. How does the organism relate with its environment? How do you relate? How do you relate people around you? They are your environment. How does cat relate with rats in its environment? How does cockroach relate with you? That is, so if you are studying a single organism in its environment, you want to know everything about the organism. How does it feed? Where does it sleep? What does it eat? What factor affects the organism? This is ecology. Relationship between the organism and its environment. The next one is, ecology can be divided into how many parts? Name the parts. This is 2 in 1 question. How many parts? First thing is answer the number of how many first. We have two. The name, horticology and syncology. Horticology is when you are studying a single species of organism. Syncology is when you are studying two or more species together at the same time. The next one is, what is an ecological niche? This is a popular term in biology question for WAEC and NECO. Ecological niche. Ecological niche is where an organism normally lives and the role it plays in the ecosystem. Where can you find this organism? Anytime you are looking for, where will you find it? If you are looking for caterpillar or butterfly, you will always find it on the leaf. What is the role? Is he a carnivore? Is he a consumer? Is he a producer? This is ecological niche. The next question is, stage 5 role played by a mango tree in the ecological niche. Because a mango is part of the biotic factor, what role is that mango playing there? And remember, a mango is a plant. So once you remember plants, what do plants do in our environment? Everything the plant will do in the environment is what a mango tree will do. So the first one I have here is it absorbs sunlight for photosynthesis. That is a major function of plant, to produce food because of through what? Photosynthesis. The next one is absorb water and mineral salt from the soil. It absorbs soil and mineral salt from the soil for its body development and for growth. Then provide shelter for animal and other plants. During the day, you can sit under the mango tree. It shades you from the sun. For those of us that have lived in the villages before, there are some plants that form canopies that we can sit down under to enjoy the shades of the evening so that it prevents from direct heat of the sun. The next one is it has a support for creepers. For example, your yam, the yam is a creeper. It supports them for their growth. Then it produces fruits. The fruit is food to some organism. The fruit serves as food to some organism. Then it also serves as fuel. Those that collect firewoods to cook, it serves as fuel. Then it covers the ground with dead leaves to enrich, to improve the fertility of the soil. The next question is, explain briefly the following terms. The first one is community. The second one is population. Community is group of populations or different species of living organisms that exist or live together in habitats and interact with one another. Group of population, different population, or different species of organisms. They live together in the same area and interact together. An Igbo man goes to the market, buy from a Hausa man. A Yoruba man goes to the market, buy from an Igbo man or buy from an Hausa man. This is a community. Because we can use the language at different species, but because we are interacting together, we form a community. The next one is population. Population consists of organisms of the same species. Organism of the same species or the same kind. If you cannot write the species very well, you can write kind. Same, that live together in the same habitat at the same time. The time is very, very important when you are defining population. The last question is, state reason why ecosystem must receive constant supply of energy. Why does it have to receive energy? Remember, I told you, ecosystem is a supporting unit that continuously develop itself. So why does it need constant supply of energy? Said the flow of energy is usually a directional in a food chain from plants to animals, and some energy are lost along the line. As the energy is continuous, some are being lost as heat. If for some time, if you touch your body, you feel heat, you are losing heat. That heat is part of the energy we have gained and we are losing. And this there must be a constant supply of energy from outside to keep the ecosystem alive. If there is no supply, if you continue to lose, you get to a point that will not survive again. So for the ecosystem to be alive, it must have a continuous supply of energy. Because without the energy, life will cease. When the ecosystem is destroyed, all life will be lost. So for continuous development of life, or for continuous growth of life, the ecosystem need continuous supply of energy. So for questions, comments, and feedback, feel free to get back to us on our social media angle that will be displayed on the screen. Thank you.